What has transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado? It wasn't just a big night of fight. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Good left hand from Rockhold. Right hand right back from Mike Perry. Could I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Perry on the top. Right hand from Perry. Double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top.
Live right here on the early line, we welcome you to hour number 3 on this Wednesday. He is Donnie. I am Ben. We'll talk a little bit of the National Football League as we enter the first full week of preseason action with a doubleheader. That's 2 games. Tomorrow night on a Thursday, the Giants and the Lions, the Patriots and the Panthers. And DRS, maybe we thought we would see Carolina's Bryce Young trying to bounce back from a disastrous rookie season and break out of the sophomore slump early in year number 2. He will not play tomorrow night for Carolina on the road in Foxborough against the Patriots. Who might we see out there at the quarterback spot for the Pats? That remains to be seen. So a preseason conversation to start off this third and final hour. We will talk a ton of Major League Baseball in this third and final hour as well. But we start by hearing from the people. So let's dive right in because I know Donnie is going to have a lot to say on the other side. How many preseason games should NFL teams play their starters in? That was the question for all of you in Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, how many preseason games should NFL teams play their starters in? There are only 3 preseason games as of now. So the options we gave you, 0, 1, 2, or 3. 39% saying at least 1. 31.2% saying 2 of the 3. The least amount going to all 3, and 21.5% saying 0. DRS, which got your vote here in the Fade the Public poll?
I mean, because we know the way the NFL works. There's 3 preseason games. You're probably only going to get to see one of those preseason games having starters in it. That's why I voted that way. That's why 39%, which leads the poll here, went that direction. In a perfect world, in a 3-game scenario, you should be playing in 2. And also, let's keep in mind, like NFL players, you ask them to a T. They're all in training camp now. If you're listening to your local sports stations, whatever it is, or just reading beat writers here, they all say the same things. Yeah. Like, they're chomping at the bit to get out there. Like, they want to play in all 3 preseason games because that's the way they're built. But particularly, like, if you have the first game, right? You only have 3 now. You let the starters get out there and get a series because it's not so much, Ben, what they're getting out on the field. It's the regimen of a game day scenario you want to prepare them for, which means the day before the game, you have the team meetings. You know you're playing the next day. You wake up in the morning, you have a certain breakfast, you have a certain scenario, maybe you get a workout in, maybe you head to the stadium at a certain time. You want to go through that day to day knowing that you're preparing yourself to play. We've all been there before. Like, let's just say you're having a scrimmage or going to a game where, like, hey, you know what? You're not going to play this game, whether you have an injury or whether or not we don't need you today. Your thought process is completely different, which is locking you in. And I know a lot of teams also do this. We're prepared to play our starters for the full half. You go out there and you have 7 plays on a touchdown drive. You don't play anymore, but you got the best out of your team because it's not so much about the 7 plays you had. It's the preparation from the day before the game to the day of the game and taking things seriously, which includes your stretching and all your regiments before the game itself. In a perfect scenario, you should be playing in 2 out of 3, but the votes, I do agree with Ben. 1 is enough here at this point. You don't want to see any of these guys get injured.
And that's really the key, right? You're trying to minimize the risk of injury in the violent game that is football. Anytime you step on the field, even if it's for a play, there is that risk, of course. But you try to be averse to any of that in games where the result is insignificant. But the wins and the losses in the preseason is the insignificant part. The action of a preseason game, of getting tuned up for the regular season, of trying to eliminate that sloppy play and shake off the rust early, to me, that still matters. It matters from a coaching staff perspective and your game day operations and just getting players back into the groove. It also matters for the entirety of your roster, not just your starters, but those guys on the fringe of making the 53-man cut to fight for those roster spots. For me, Donnie, the preseason is exactly that. It does not matter from a wins and losses, but I think it does matter to the players out there. I would like to see starters in at least 2 of the 3, and that's what got my vote. Now, it is an individual case-by-case basis. Some coaching staffs around the league don't care for preseason, don't think it matters whatsoever. Others do believe into it more and want to see their guys out there. So when it comes to my estimation on it, in certain cases like Bryce Young trying to rectify his career after only 1 year, I would have liked to see him out there for a couple of series tomorrow against the New England Patriots. The line had that taken into account. It was a 4.5-point spread in favor of New England. Now it's 6.5 in favor of the Patriots against the Panthers. Donnie, it's probably the only time this year New England is going to be favored in a football game.
And probably so. And also, you're right about that. Different franchises in certain instances, you want to play your players, you don't want to play your players. A Super Bowl caliber team that you feel is going to have a big season, the only thing is you don't want to get anybody injured. If you're a team that's on the rise, and also keep in mind a new head coaching staff where you want to make sure you set the tone early, that's what you do. If you're the Baltimore Ravens, you care about every game as if it's a win or loss situation. But for me, there's no exact science and no exact scenario. Like for me, I'm probably playing my guys again. Game number 1, let's get a quick series out there. Let's get the boys in there. Game number 2, maybe we'll play a few series because the training now regiments are much different than they were in the past. These guys are talented. They're practicing, or I shouldn't say practicing, working out all year long. Back in the day, as we like to say, hey, these guys are working themselves into shape once they get to camp. That's no longer the case at this point, at least for 99.9% of the players. But also, if you are a coach, you never can live down playing a guy in the preseason and getting him injured, even if it wasn't the right decision. It's football. Guys are going to get injured. It's the same way we talk about at the end of the season, Ben. You have things locked up. You clinch the second overall seed, the top overall seed, and guys like Mike Tomlin say, well, let's play. Bill Belichick, let's play. You suffer an injury there where you lose your starting quarterback or starting wide receiver the following week because you played in a meaningless game. There's always going to be questions. Not many people say in that final week of the season, I don't need my team to play. We don't. Hey, look at that. They weren't as sharp in that final game. You can live with that. You can never lose a starter in an instance where the game, quote unquote, didn't mean anything.
Absolutely so. And again, the result, the win, the loss, the score doesn't really matter, does not have any impact on your playoff standing, on your wins and losses for a regular season or any other incentive beyond that. But it does impact, of course, how we handicap preseason games, because unlike what we can quantify throughout a regular season, part of it is motivation, mentality of a coaching staff. The other part is just roster availability. So some other news yesterday. We shared that Bryce Young will not play for Carolina on Thursday night in Foxborough against the Patriots. Jordan Love will play for the Green Bay Packers in the preseason opener. We learned earlier this week that Dan Quinn, who named Jaden Daniels the starter yesterday in Washington as expected, will get the start in the preseason debut on Saturday afternoon at MetLife against the New York Jets. So when you look at some of those odds, DRS, the Commanders, 2.5-point favorite on Saturday against the New York Jets. We won't see Aaron Rodgers at all throughout this preseason. Green Bay, 2.5-point underdog on the road in Cleveland on Saturday afternoon against the Browns. We learned yesterday as well, not just for week number 1 of the preseason, but the entirety of the preseason. Christian McCaffrey has a calf strain for San Francisco.
That's big.
Won't play at all in preseason action. And Kyler Murray will also be held out of preseason action for Arizona. What was that you said about CMC?
That's a big injury here because you saw that injury creep up at the end of the regular season last year. You come into the season now where you're usually worried about the background. Hey, Christian McCaffrey doesn't really stay healthy all the way through. When you're starting the season with the injuries, sometimes you tend to stay injured. That's one to keep an eye on where nobody's going to push the panic button. There's a couple weeks to get ready, but he's going to be missing practice and just reappear against the New York Jets in game number 1. That's certainly one to keep an eye on. Also, Ricky Pearsall injured again, which might lead into that Ayuk situation. A lot of swirling rumors going around those San Francisco 49ers right now, and not in the best fashion.
Trent Williams still holding out of camp as well. Not the optimism you would want for a team that is favored to win the NFC at a 3-1 price, $2.50 in front of the rest of the conference. We talked about the 6.5-point number in favor of the Pats. Second largest spread of preseason week 1, a 5.5-point spread in favor of the Titans at home against those Niners on Saturday night. Daily basis. Craig Mish returns next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead if they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League, 2 stud tight ends. They're a legit 5 deep at receiver, 7 bona fide pass targets. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid. We go all around MLB with our Major League Baseball insider and the host of Newswire. That starts at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Craig Mish. Craig, as always, thank you for being here on this Wednesday. How's your week been so far?
So far, so good. It's really been, I think, a lot of fun with baseball to sort of see some of the teams that are climbing up, see some of the teams that are falling out. I know we'll get into it. But obviously, I know where we're going to start today, so I don't want to spoil the lead. But naturally, I was happy to see one team in particular win last night.
Yes, and we will talk about that team in just a moment. They went around the bases 5 times. They scored 5 runs to snap a historic losing skid. We'll tell you who that team was if you don't already know, as we touch them all as well in daily basis. A celebratory experience last night for the Chicago White Sox, snapping a 21-game losing skid with a 5-1 victory against Oakland yesterday in Oakland. So the 21-game losing streak, Craig, it matched the longest in MLB history since 1988. It tied the longest in American League history alongside the Baltimore Orioles that lost the first 21 games of their 1988 season came to a close. Yippee! The Southsiders still south of 500 by 60 games. Craig, it is terrible. It is dismal this year for the White Sox. How do you describe the current landscape that is this White Sox franchise?
They made a lot of changes in the offseason, and I think that what you're probably going to have to do is put some of this on the previous people that were running things there. I think it's only fair to say that Kenny Williams, his time was up. Rick Hahn, his time was up. Both gentlemen did a fine job as general managers through the years, but very clearly toward the end did not to have this team in this kind of shape. Also, Pedro Grifol is probably going to end up losing his job. You can't lose as many games as he did in order to get there. And the White Sox can't even get the number 1 pick in the draft for all of this, which is sort of crazy to think that they're not even eligible because of the new CBA rules with the lottery. But I think more than anything else, I'm happy that the story is over, because I'm not going to necessarily call out any other media or broadcast or radio shows. But, Ben, I got to tell you, there's nothing more annoying than seeing some of these national shows discussing the White Sox when I know for a fact they have not talked baseball in months on their shows, and choose the White Sox to be the tipping point here as what they're going to talk about, to get some attention here. So for me, I'm very happy that it's over. That's one of the reasons why. I'm not saying that baseball moves the needle like the other sports, because I know it does not. I'm not trying to say that it does. But if you haven't talked baseball at all, like ever, and then you're just going to pick on these guys, I don't know. So, something about that to me seems wrong.
Maybe a win streak on the horizon here for the White Sox. I'll tell you one team that sort of changed their season over the past month and a half. That's been the Houston Astros. Pick up a victory yesterday, now 58-55 on the season. Framber Valdez, outstanding as usual. 1 out away from another no-hitter. Corey Seager steps in, drops a 2-run home run, but they get the ultimate win, and that's what they came for. Great performance. 8 2/3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 5 Ks, 3 walks. Valdez almost again perfect here with a no-hitter. But I like what I see out of the Astros. And for me, Craig, I think they're going to end up winning the NL West at this point.
Look, Donnie, it could happen. They're doing this without Kyle Tucker, and offensively, while all numbers are down across baseball, really when you look at Yordan Alvarez, he's been the only consistent performer. I guess Altuve's numbers are above average given the numbers that we've seen in baseball this season. But it's probably going to be on the arm of Valdez to get farther than, let's say, the first round of the playoffs. We saw that in the World Series a couple of years ago. And by the way, has there been any pitcher better than Valdez recently, not named Skeens? I don't know. 5-0 with an ERA just over 3. He's striking out way more batters now than he did early on the season. Obviously, Framber is now healthy. And look out if Houston gets in, because that's the kind of guy that can go game 1, game 4, game 7 for you and win a series. So very curious to see how far things go. But guys, let's be clear. They got to have Tucker back and healthy, I think, also to go deep.
Yeah. Valdez threw a no-hitter in his first outing in August in 2023, a near no-no in his first start of August in 2024. The Astros a victory, the Mariners a loss yesterday at home against the Tigers, so now just a half-game difference. Seattle in front in the American League West. A marquee matchup this week, Craig, in Los Angeles between the Dodgers and the Phillies. As we know, it's a regular season set, as we saw just about a month ago when Phillies swept the Dodgers, and it felt like a statement only for the Phils to lose their next 6 series, both before and after the All-Star break. The rubber match today in Los Angeles. The Dodgers a slight favorite to take the game and the series. A 1.5 lead at this moment for Philadelphia over L.A. for the top spot in the National League. So, Craig, with all of that information, how significant is this third and final game in the midweek set tonight in Los Angeles.
Yeah, look, it's the dog days now. The baseball players will tell you that. We've reached it in August, where there's still 2-3 weeks until we get to September, and that's when the final push happens. I'm very pragmatic about these teams, Philadelphia, New York, even the Yankees to a degree. We were talking a few weeks ago. Everyone was just saying the Yankees are done. They're done. All of a sudden, they make a trade, then they roll off several wins in a row. At some point, the Phillies are going to start winning again. Dodgers are going to push toward 100 wins. Every team is going to have these streaks. What you don't want to do is see it happen for more than a month or 2 months. But guys, out of every 5 or 6 month season, every month can't be a 700 winning percentage. It was not going to happen for the Phillies. It was never going to happen for the Dodgers. And so it really is all that matters, guys. Talk to me second week in September. Who's hot? Who's pushing toward the postseason? Who was it last year? The Texas Rangers. What did they do? They got to the World Series. So I think the same could be said for all of these teams as we head toward October.
Game and a half difference between the Phils and the Dodgers atop the National League. Only a half game separates the Red Sox and the Royals for the third and final American League wildcard spot. Craig, 30 seconds left. KC a minus 142 home moneyline favorite today. How important is it for KC to snap their 2-game skid against Boston?
Got to get out of the way of the Red Sox right now. They're playing really good baseball, so a little temptation here, I would say, on the side of Boston. 10 games over, 11 games over. Boston has a real good shot to get in if they can keep it going. So slight lean toward Boston today.
The Red Sox winners of 6 of their last 8, looking up at KC in the American League wildcard chase. Craig Mish will see you on Newswire at 11 a.m. Eastern. More of the early line up next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League, 2 stud tight ends. They're a legit 5 deep at receiver, 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Your Paris primer for this Wednesday over in France at the 2024 Olympic Games. He is Donnie. I am Ben. Let's start with quarterfinal action in the women's basketball tournament over at the 33rd Olympiad. 58 consecutive wins in Olympic basketball action for the women's team for the United States. They're a 28.5-point favorite against Nigeria today for a spot in the semifinal at stake. Now, Nigeria is the first African nation men's or women's, to make it to the quarterfinal round in Olympic basketball history. We salute what Nigeria has done, winning 2 of their 3 games in group play to get here. They will get in your face. They will make you grind out a victory. But the size advantage for the United States, I think, is too much to overcome. Will it be closer than a 28.5-point spread might indicate?
I mean, most of the time we're taking a look at what we thought yesterday before the game against Brazil. Hey, big and strong, and now it's a knockout stage. You don't need to win. There's no aggregate score needed at this point. And Team USA absolutely blasted Brazil. You take a look at the scoreboard today, 27.5, 28.5 at the FanDuel Sportsbook, 155.5. Shouldn't it go the same way where Team USA is now in the knockout stage? So you know what? It's time to play defense all 4 quarters and blow this team off the court. So I'll go ahead with the prediction I had yesterday and reverse it. What I saw at Team USA in the knockout stage was we don't really care how many points we need. We are just going to play 4 quarters of great basketball, and so be it. I think that's going to happen again with the women's team today. Why not? 30-point victory? Let's do it.
Yeah, listen, I really look at the prop market for this game, Asia Wilson and Breanna Stewart. There is such a monumental size advantage for the Americans throughout all of Olympic basketball, but certainly here against the Nigerians, that I would look at Stewie, her rebounding prop 7.5, take the over. Asia Wilson, 10.5, the rebounding prop. I would still look to the over. So far today in the women's basketball tournament, 2 quarterfinals now in the books, I believe, but maybe not 85-67. The victory for Australia against Serbia. And yes, Belgium victorious by double digits, 79-66 over Spain. So the Australians and the Belgians in to semifinal action at the women's basketball tournament. Round number 1 of the women's golf tournament at Le Golf Nacional gets started and is already underway on this Wednesday. Nelly Korda, the American, not in her best form as of late, entering the Olympic Games, but dominant earlier this year. 5 consecutive tournament victories, 6 of 7, and was the plus 400 favorite to win gold over in Paris.
Yeah, taking a look now. What she finished up round number 1 even and shot a 72, but she is 6 strokes back here of, again, how about this? Home court, home field, home golf course advantage of Celine Boutier, 6 under through 15 right now as the leader. How about that?
That's taking advantage of the course at Le Golf Nacional. We also have men's quarterfinal water polo action. The American women making it to the semifinal. Do you know who is the biggest supporter of Team USA women's water polo, DRS?
Who would that be?
Flavor Flav. He's been all in on Team USA and women's water polo, contributing financially to the team. He's been following them in Paris. Huge fan of the water polo action.
How about that? By the way, I have no idea how you play water polo. Like, I would have to do it in like 3 or 4 feet of water. Like, I could think that was like we could all have fun with that. Right. But the fact that you can't touch the bottom and you have to play that sport, that's not for me. It's just not for me.
I would love nothing more than for you to have to be a water polo announcer and that South Jersey, Delco, Philly accent come out each and every time. Say it again. What was the sport?
Water polo?
Water polo. That would be fantastic.
Water polo?
Water. That would be great, man. I do love it, DRS. It's hard to call you out like that. Elsewhere in the Olympic Games today, on the track, the 400-meter final for the men. It is the most grueling sport of all of the sprint races because it's a full sprint one time around the track. And right now, Matthew Hudson-Smith of Great Britain is the minus 155 gold medal favorite. But Quincy Hall from KC Mo, Kansas City, Missouri, pretty much jogged yesterday, said he ran at about 75-80% and ran away with his semifinal race, plus 195. Michael Norman was the gold medal favorite back in Tokyo. A disappointing performance, 16-1 to figure things out today. You got to pick quickly?
By the way, I do have a comment here. Like in the races, like I know how they take these preliminaries a little bit easier and don't run all the way through. I'd be so selfish and try to set the world record on everything, even against my better wisdom. I am. I'm built to win, baby. Yeah. I'm built to win.
You're built different, DRS. All right, more around MLB comes your way next.
hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're a legit 5 deep at receiver. 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, like, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The final game of what appears to be a very full Wednesday slate in Major League Baseball is the final game of a midweek series between the 2 top teams in the National League, the 2 frontrunners for an NL pennant, the 2 best prices to win a World Series. It's the Dodgers and the Phillies in a rubber match to take the set this week out at Chavez Ravine. Now, the Dodgers are a favorite, minus 142 on the money line. Gavin Stone gets the start. The young Tyler Phillips makes a start for Philadelphia on the other side. I believe the total is on the rise out in L.A. It is at 9. 8.5 the number there, now at 9 for that over-under. Might we see some offense, DRS, as you have alluded to throughout this show?
I think we get some. And yesterday, just breaking down the game and sometimes just day to day, the pitchers you have on the mound. I said the pitcher was better on the Philadelphia Phillies side, even though it was Clayton Kershaw. But we always preface that by saying it's not Clayton Kershaw as a career. It's how he appeared just in that game. And also the fact that the Los Angeles Dodgers really struggled over the past month against left-handed pitching. Sanchez was a lefty. It made some sense that they won. But today, I don't necessarily agree that the Phillies, or disagree, I should say, that the Phillies shouldn't be an underdog. They should. I just don't know if the Dodgers should be around that minus 140 range because Gavin Stone, not the greatest pitcher. If you're just taking a look at a 30-day snapshot for him, Ben, 303 ISO against, 448 weighted on base percentage. And we're talking about a split of 44 left-handed batters he's faced. That's a 357 ISO, 48 right-handed batters he's faced. That's 255. Now, the Philadelphia Phillies offense seemingly coming around. You got some decent temperatures out there late night tonight, 76 degrees at first pitch. That's nice. Wind blowing out to dead center field. That'll help. But also, what are we getting out of the Phillies' perspective from their pitcher in Tyler Phillips? Just making those spot starts here in hopes that the Phillies get some of their starters back, like, Ranger Suarez back from the DL, Taijuan Walker, who are close to returning. He's got to make another start. His 56 batters he's faced from the right side here, Ben, a 358 ISO and a 426 weighted on base percentage. So Teoscar Hernandez went yard last night. Maybe a good opportunity for him once again tonight. Also, Kike Hernandez. Now, you do have a couple left-handed batters that always do damage. That's Shohei Ohtani's got really good numbers against right-handed pitching, and also Gavin Lux. But I'm more focusing here my efforts on Phillips really being damaged from the right side. Case in point, we agree. 8.5 to 9s makes some sense. I would not be surprised waking up tomorrow morning seeing this game have a double-digit number in front of it. 2 talented offenses, 2 questionable pitchers. 5
starts made in Tyler Phillips' MLB career, all here in 2020. 24. Through the month of July, he made 4 starts. He was 3-0 with a 1.80 ERA, including the final one he made on Saturday, July 27th against the Guardians, a complete game shutout, only allowing 4 hits, but was roughed up on Friday in Seattle, only an inning and 2/3, allowing 8 earned runs in total. What version of Tyler Phillips will we see? A couple of doubleheaders on the board today if we can play both of them in Cleveland between the Guardians and the Diamondbacks, and in the Bronx between the Yankees and the Angels. The Yanks greater than a $2.50 favorite in both of the doubleheader games on the slate today against the Angels. Much more competitive between Cleveland and Arizona. Again, the D-backs entered today, DRS, 12-4 since the All-Star break, victorious in 10 of their last 12 games.
Yeah, by the way, the doubleheaders to me, and it might sound odd to say, they put the better team at a disadvantage. Why? You got 2 games against a bad baseball team. You should beat them both games. We know how that works out. You take a look at Arizona and Cleveland. They have a doubleheader today. If you told them up front, hey, you guys are going to split, hey, you know what? That's probably what was going to happen anyway over the next day or two if we were playing those baseball games. But the Yankees being such heavy favorites and playing a doubleheader anticipated today, like, you can't ever expect the sweep here. It's hard to do that. You might have to use your closer in game number 1. You can't use him in game number 2. Maybe one of your players gets a little bit banged up. You can't play from game 1 to game 2, and you just don't want to put your superstars out there for 18 innings of baseball, so therefore you don't have that full gas opportunity. So I think the Yankees are at a slight disadvantage. Should they sweep? Technically, they're the better team, but how many times does that play out here? It's a 1-1 just about every single time. It feels the way doubleheaders end up working that way, but it's tough scene for the Yankees. They don't have any excuses. They should have handled in game number 1, and it's just a matter of can they hold on for game number 2.
Listen, there's more rain expected here in the greater New York City area over today, tomorrow, even beyond that into the weekend. But if Donnie is correct, right, just the average margin, the law of mean or whatever we want to call it, and this is a doubleheader split, you're going to have some profitability on the Angels. Will Warren gets the start in the second game, as Zeno mentioned, minus 240 right now in favor of the Pinstripes. He got the start last week for Garrett Cole, who was dealing with body fatigue. Warren got the win for the Yankees. But if they do split and they're a stronger favorite in game number 1, plus 198 is the number on the Halos. That's if the game tonight is going to be played, because Luis Gil and the Yankees minus 300 in the opener of the doubleheader today. Last 4 starts for Gil, 1 earned, 1 earned, 1 earned, 3 earned runs given up so far this year, 11-5 with a 3.20 ERA. By the way, Colton Cowser for the Baltimore Orioles, now an odds-on favorite at minus 155 to win the American League Rookie of the Year award. Luis Gil, second best price. Chris Sale is the favorite to win the National League Cy Young Award at a plus 110 number. He gets the start today in Atlanta for the Braves, who are a minus 164 home money line favorite. 2 straight goose eggs out of Atlanta at home in their last 2 games. They're trying to get some offense today against Milwaukee. Doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know if they can, because, again, sometimes you just have to ride those streaks, right? When the Phillies aren't playing great baseball, oh, still a good pitcher, still a good lineup. Sometimes you have to take it with a grain of salt and say, I don't really want to bet them until they get it back together. A couple good performances from the Phillies at the plate. You feel much better tonight, even if it's Phillips on the mound. The reason I'm bringing that up is you have Chris Sale, and you don't want to waste it. Like, hey, Chris Sale, I'm going to go out and give you 7 innings pitched and 1 earned run and be losing when I leave the game. That's supposed to be an easy victory here. So what are we looking for? Law of averages, I'd like to say. Well, you can't go 3 straight games with a shutout. That's not a lot of, hey, look, I'm really looking forward to bet the Atlanta Braves, and sooner than later they should bounce back. If we are looking at the numbers itself, the one thing I will say, if we're looking from an Atlanta batting side, you know, Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna, Olsen, Arcia, and Whit Merrifield all have decent numbers against right-handed pitching. And Freddie Peralta, who is a quality pitcher, not as good right now as he was to start the season. Because if we're taking a look at the last 30 days, ISO against 224, weighted on base percentage against 342. You should be able to hit. So theoretically, yes, maybe the best pitcher in baseball, particularly in the National League, is on the mound today at home. You should be able to lean on that. But once again, it's not as if it's like, hey, every night we're getting 5+ runs at Atlanta. This should be an easy one. It's one where you ride it out and say, boy, I wish we were up more than 1 run after 7 innings and Sale leaves the game. That's what you're left with. No confidence for me right now in betting the Atlanta Braves. They just haven't shown up in the plate the last 2 days, and I can't back them today, even if Chris Sale's on the mound.
Yesterday's total was 9.5. Milwaukee scored 10 runs. Atlanta did not score a single run. Again, the Braves, the only team in MLB with an under percentage of 60% or more. It's just what they have done all year long, even with those struggles today. Some day baseball in Chicago, the rubber match between the Cubbies and the Twins. Minnesota won game one. The Cubs respond yesterday. Isaac Paredes, the new acquisition from Tampa Bay, 3 RBIs yesterday for the Cubs. The Twins a road favorite today, though, minus 136. What do you like inside the friendly confines?
Yeah, we were seeing sixes out there in some outlets with 2 good pitchers on the mound, but always the joke is, like, unless it's 30 miles an hour blowing in, you can't really say it's going to be worth a few runs, like 2 to 3 runs. And yesterday, they went over the total. Now today, similar conditions, Ben. 77 degrees at first pitch, 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. But you do have Ryan, who I believe is the better pitcher today over Assad. If you look at Assad's last 60 days in Major League Baseball, he's got a 113 xFIP minus, which is slightly elevated. Has a decent ERA, 3.19, but those future metrics that we like to see, a 4.59 xFIP number and a 4.65 SIERA number, tells me the better team and the better pitcher on the mound will be from Minnesota side. I'll go Minnesota today in this game.
The Twins very much in wild card positioning, second best record in that wild card race, only behind the Yanks. Actually, now it might be the Orioles as the O's lost yesterday. Yeah, Baltimore a half game behind the Yankees in the American League East. So Baltimore now the top American League wild card team. We'll talk more about that AL wild card chase and other games on the docket on this Wednesday in MLB. More breakdowns from Donnie Rightside up next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League, 2 stud tight ends. They're legit 5 deep at receiver, 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, like, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
A near no-hitter last night in Arlington. So what a series it has been already between the Rangers and the Astros. Texas taking game one in extra innings. Josh Smith hitting a walk-off 2-run home run. Last night, Framber Valdez had a near no-hitter down to his final out. Corey Seager hit a 2-run shot over the wall, but Houston still victorious 4-2. The rubber match today in Arlington, where Yusei Kikuchi makes his second start in an Astros uniform. Houston won his first start over the weekend after being acquired at deadline from the Toronto Blue Jays. Minus 132, the number in favor of the Stros on the road in Arlington, total of 9. What's the play today in the in-state showdown?
Yeah, see it creeping up, I guess, and rightfully so with Houston at that minus 120 price, elevated now to the minus 130s. It feels a little bit like yesterday, sort of a disrespectful line. Now, not as important because Valdez clearly was the better pitcher on the mound. I still do think Kikuchi is the better pitcher today than Jose Urena. You take a look at Urena on the season, he actually has some pretty decent numbers, but over the past month, he's fallen off a bit. His last 66 batters, a 237 ISO against and a weighted on base percentage of 426. You got some good bats in that lineup that should be able to take care of business. But here's the issue that you might have. I do like you say Kikuchi. He's been dominant as a left-handed pitcher against left-handed batters all season long, particularly in the past 30 days. But against righties, he's more average here. So you're going to get a lineup with a lot of right-handed batters going against Kikuchi, and he is on the road. That should be a little bit of a test. But for me, again, I'm just going to roll with the Astros. I just think they're a better overall team than the Texas Rangers. They won yesterday, and I think they win again today.
Yeah, I would look at that way as well. You say Kikuchi was given up, or they gave up a lot to get Kikuchi to be a part of this embattled and injured starting rotation for Houston all year. Framber Valdez has been great. The Astros need more of it. They're a half game back of Seattle at this moment for the top spot in the American League West. And let's be frank, if any of those three teams, the Mariners, Astros, and Rangers, are going to get to the postseason, it probably comes from a divisional title. The Rangers have lost 8 of their last 11. Even with the win yesterday, the Houston Astros have dropped 6 of their last 9. We'll get to Seattle in just a moment. Kansas City inside Kauffman Stadium. The Royals looking to avoid a sweep over the Red Sox and looking to avoid a flip-flop in the American League wildcard standings. Boston right now a half game behind KC for that third and final AL wildcard spot. The Red Sox have won 6 of their last 8. The Royals have now lost a couple of games in a row here to Boston. But with Cole Reagans on the bump, KCA minus 142, home money line favorite in this series finale. What happens, DRS? The Red Sox pull off the sweep. The Royals avoid a sweep.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got more runs in this game, but we can argue, or should I say can argue, that the better pitcher technically will be Cole Reagans for the Royals, and he's at home. If we take a look at the card today, 30 total pitchers, 20 innings pitched over the past 60 days. Reagans comes in at number 5 with an 81 xFIP minus number and a solid ERA at 3.36. Something has got to give here, though, because Reagans, even over the past month, very good numbers ISO power-wise and weighted on base percentage against lefty and righty batters. But check out the Boston Red Sox. Let's just take a look at the top 7 batters we anticipate to be in the lineup for the Red Sox over the past month against left-handed pitching. Look at these weighted on base percentages. And again, use your baseline around 325. That's the Major League Baseball average. Duran, 434. Refsnyder, 596. O'Neill, 386. Devers, 355. Wong, 415. Gonzalez, 431. And Jansen, 418. So you're looking at a pitcher that has been dominant, but a lineup that has been scorching hot against left-handed pitching. Flip it over to the other side. Cutter Crawford would be on the mound. Not a great pitcher, and certainly not on the level, at least over the past 60 days, that Cole Reagans has been on. And if you're talking about weighted on base percentages against right-handed pitching, take a look at the Royals. Witt, 503. Pasquantino, 394. Perez, 316. Renfroe, 339. Melendez, 384. Fermin, 344. Garcia, 327. We've had good run support the past 2 games. Why not good run support again today? Unless you feel Reagan is going to dominate that very good lineup for the Red Sox, which I think he can do okay. I think we get more runs than not. Why not go that direction as opposed to a side or a heavier side on the Kansas City Royals?
Will there be any run support today in Seattle out in the Pacific Northwest? The odds maker's not expecting a ton. The total is 6. George Kirby gets the start for Seattle. The American League Cy Young odds-on favorite Tarek Skubal gets the start for Detroit. The M's a slight home favorite, but again, that total has dropped. It is a flat 6 at this moment. We going over, we going under today in Seattle.
Here's the thing. Like, it's like, oh, why don't you just go with the 6 and take the over? Well, there are differing scenarios where we talk about like Wrigley Field a little bit smaller. You see how it plays out. Both of these lineups technically leave a lot to be desired. They're 1 through 9s, but those pitchers are good. As I said, those 30 pitchers that we have, minimum 20 innings pitched over the past 60 days. Number 2, Tarek Skubal on the card today. Number 6, it's George Kirby. XFIP numbers, Skubal, 68. Outrageously good. You take a look at Kirby, an 82 here. This game probably more likely to stay under, but who's betting under 6, to be honest? There's better games out there. You just might want to sit back and say, yep, 2-1. That's probably what we anticipated, but I didn't bet it or win any money on that one.
All right, some better games out there. Afternoon baseball for the A's and the red-hot White Sox. Maybe can they make it 2 straight wins, winning multiple games on a win streak for the first time since late June. Oakland's still a -190 favorite against Chicago, despite the White Sox snapping that historic 21-game losing skid yesterday.
I know it's not Dinger Tuesday, but we take a look at that lineup. Brent Rooker, right-handed bat, 72 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days. How about a 453 ISO and a 485 weighted on-base percentage? And also, keep in mind, we like day games in Oakland. At night, that marine layer comes out. It's about 65 degrees. Your first pitch today, 75 degrees with that normal wind blowing out the center field. So I do think Rooker can get a hold of one and put one into the seats and cash in that home run ticket. Let's see it play out.
Keep an eye on the Padres, 12-3 since the All-Star break, 12 wins in their last 14 games. They beat Pittsburgh yesterday in PNC Park 6-0, shutting out the Buccos. San Diego now the top wild card team in the National League, followed by divisional mate Arizona. The Braves, who have lost 3 straight games, including the opener yesterday against Milwaukee, now cling to a 1.5-game lead for the third and final National League wildcard spot in front of the Mets. It was Atlanta in the top spot virtually all year long. The Amazons losing yesterday in Colorado, a game the Mets could ill afford to lose. He is Donnie Rightside. We will talk tomorrow. Now, go enjoy the money line, DRS. We'll see you tomorrow here on the early line. A couple more minutes on TEL next.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League, 2 stud tight ends. They're a legit 5 deep at receiver, 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
If the U.S. gets to a bad start and they're down or close, I may double down on the second quarter because I know that that's when Steve Kerr is going to want to either A, if it's close, like, open it up. If they're losing, you got to get the lead because you don't want teams like it was in South Sudan that believe that they can win.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe it went a little under the radar on Monday afternoon, and it's not nearly as important as the AP preseason poll, but the USA Today coaches poll was released ahead of a new 2024 college football season on Monday afternoon. Again, the AP poll is our guide throughout the entirety of the regular season until November when we get the college football playoff rankings for the first time, and then all get mad about what the selection committee has deemed most important. Believe me, we will be mad in the first year of a 12-team college football playoff as well. But here is the preseason coaches poll as we get you set for the 2024 college football campaign. Top 10 looks as so: Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Michigan, Penn State, and Florida State. Now it's a new year, of course, and a new era in CFB. Conference realignment and the expanded 12-team college football playoff, the most notable changes to this college football landscape across the country. So you see the top 10, you're like, oh yeah, that looks pretty much what we expected, but it should be noted that it's 4 SEC schools: Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss; 4 Big Ten schools: Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Penn State; 1 independent program, that is Notre Dame; and an ACC school rounding out the top 10, Florida State, there as it stands. As you go conference breakdown, 9 SEC schools in the top 25 of the preseason coaches poll, 6 hailing from the Big Ten, and despite not having a team ranked inside the top 10, 5 Big 12 schools round out the top 25. We'll get into that in just a moment. 4 out of the ACC. And I do want to highlight a couple of the schools a little bit lower down in this poll. We know the heavy hitters. We talked about this. The odds makers really agree with the coaches poll, at least on preseason expectation. 8 of the top 10 from the Big Ten or the SEC. All 10 of the 9 of the 10 best prices to reach the CFP from the Big Ten or the SEC. Notre Dame, the only difference there. So what about the other teams that will factor into the landscape of this college football season in 2024? Well, let's talk about Utah first and foremost. First year in the Big 12. Favorites to win the Big 12. Highest ranked Big 12 program at number 13 nationally. Kansas State and Oklahoma State also in the top 20 from the Big 12. K-State, second best price to win the Big 12. Keep an eye on Avery Johnson, the Wildcats quarterback, who I think is going to make some noise this year. Oklahoma State played in the Big 12 championship game last year, led by the nation's leading rusher, Ollie Gordon II. We heard that he will not miss any time for any suspension or discipline, despite a DUI arrest earlier this summer. That's what Mike Gundy told us at Big 12 Media Days. Now let's go to the Final 5 schools. Arizona, under Brent Brennan, a new head coach in Tucson, but a quarterback and wide receiver duo that can match anybody around the country. Noah Fafita, the signal caller. Tetaroa McMillan, one of the best wideouts in the country that maybe you have not heard of just yet. Dave Dorn and NC State, all they do is win. They will be a factor in the ACC. Lincoln Riley and the Trojans, year number 1 of the Big Ten. And then Iowa rounds out the top 25. Consistency is key for the Hawks. They are going to have either the best defense nationally, certainly ranking in the top 5 this year. Who's the program I skipped over? That would be the 24th ranked team in the country, Kansas. Again, this is the coaches poll. It's not the AP poll. The trend of the coaches poll in the preseason, not nearly as illustrious as we have for the AP top 25. But let's say it holds by the time we get to Monday afternoon, August 12th, noon Eastern time, and we get the preseason AP top 25. And Kansas checks in as one of the 25 highest ranked programs around the country in college football. It will be the first time since 2009 that Kansas ranks in the top 25 in the preseason. The Jayhawks win total this year is 8.5. The under heavily juiced at -170. Let's say the odds makers are correct and the expectation of 8 wins at most is the right side. It would still be the first 8-win season for KU since 2008. Let's say they go over 8.5. It would be the first time with 9 or more regular season wins since Kansas won the Orange Bowl and had a 12-1 season way back in 2007. If Jalen Daniels is healthy for KU, in the program that Lance Leipold has built in Lawrence, Kansas will be a factor in the Big 12 championship race this season. When's the last time we talked Kansas football and preseason expectation? That's the reality now for KU. The early line returns tomorrow on a Thursday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time here on SportsGrid.